Hey guys, welcome back to another video in the series of Python interview questions for DevOps. And in today's video, we are going to talk about these two programs that you can see on my screen. So first program would be of swap two numbers without using a third variable. So we are going to swap two numbers, and we're going to take a condition in which the first number is greater than the second number is less smaller than the first number. So these are the two conditions that we are going to take. We're going to create a very basic program, and a bit level up program for the next one, which is the second program that you can see on my screen, is average of numbers. So we are going to create a list out of it, and then we are going to take input from the user to create a list. In that, we'll take the numbers, we'll run a few loops, and then we'll take an average of the numbers that we are going to give. So that's the two programs that we're going to discuss today. All right. So before moving further in this video, if you're new over here and have not subscribed my channel yet, kindly do so. So without further ado, let's dive right into the video. Okay, so you know that first program that we are going to discuss is swapping the two numbers. Okay, now there was a very easy scenario in which what we do is we take an input A, we take an input B, we take an input C, not an input. This is our temporary variable. So what we do is we just transfer B to A to C, and then C to B, like this, and then we just swap it, because whatever there is an A comes to C, then it goes to B, and then we used to do that. But right now in this condition, there is no temporary variable or no third variable. So how are we going to do it? So that's the first thing that we're going to talk about, in which we have two conditions. One condition is A, second condition is B condition. In A condition, our logic will check whether A is less than B or not, and in the next logic we're going to see that whether it's greater than B or not, and according to this a bit of our code will change. This is a very basic program that can be asked in either DevOps interview or a dev interview. Even if you are fresher or some 3 or 4 years of experience, this can be asked either to check whether you know the logic or not. All right, so this would be the first program. So today is day one, so I'll be taking a very basic stuff today. Okay, and you already know that in the second we're going to calculate the average. Now uh, there are many ways to create a program, and the logic which I'm going to show you is one of the logics, and there can be multiple logics, multiple methods that can be used. We'll try to create a program in such a way that it is kind of up to industry standards, in the sense the usage of variables is one thing, and creation of you can create your functions, creation of functions should be up to the marks. Why I'm saying this? Because what happens is, generally what we do is we write lines of code, and then we do not do anything specific to function. And this is something that is seen in a lot of programmers that are just starting to code. There are just beginners. What they do is they write their whole of their logic in one file and in sentences like this. They do not create functions, they do not make a call to any function, they do not create files like that. So this is something we are going to avoid, and we are going to write these program in some sort of industry standards. All right, so this is one thing that an interview can notice in your programs, and we are going to do it in all the days. So today is day one, and we're going to do it in every program. So today I'm just going to explain it how we are going to do it, and in the further programs we're going to do in a similar way. All right, so this is something we are going to do. So there are two parts to calculate the average. So first part is to create the list. Okay, so this list we are giving inputs from the user. We are asking input from the user, and we are going to create a list out of it, in which it'll have numbers. It can have any sort of numbers depending on your input. And then what we are going to do, we are going to calculate an average. So we have bifurcated into two parts, in which first we'll create the list, and then we'll do an average operation. All right, so let us understand through the demo part on both these questions. Okay, so if you can see on my screen, this is the repository that I have created for you guys. It's saying Python interview questions for DevOps, and I'm going to put every code that I write over here over the course of 30-40 days. And this is day one, which is we're going to talk about today, and then something like that we're going to talk every day. All right, so let's dive into the code part. So make sure that you have open terminal over here. If you do not know how to do it, go to terminal, new terminal, and it will come over here. All right, if you want to do in PowerShell, great, but I would like to do inside command prompt over here, and do a dir over here to see where exactly are you. So I'm outside, so I have to go inside day one. So I'll do cd day 01. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so if I do dir over here, perfect, I'm in that. All right, I'll just clean this by cls and let us understand. So what is happening over here? I have given two numbers, num1 and num2. In number 1, it's 10 and it's 20. So in this case, number 1 is greater than, sorry, number 1 is less than number 2. So what we'll do is, if number 1 is less than num2, this condition is going to run, and else this condition is going to run. All right, these are exactly the same, it's just they are a bit different in terms of logic. All right, so let's discuss about this. So what is happening? I'm printing that what is before swap. So 10 is going to be printed over here and then 20. But now what is happening? Num2, what we are doing is num2 plus num1. So num2 plus num1 equal to 30. So num2 will be having 30 right now. Now in 11th line, num1 would be num2 minus num1. So 30 minus 10 equal to 20. So num1 will become 20. And you can already see that if num1 has become 20, one condition is already been matched. And then in num2, what we'll do is num2 minus num1, which is 20 minus 10. And when 20 minus 10 comes, what happens? It becomes 10. So you can see the two condition has already been matched. So now num2 contains what? 10, and num1 contains what? 20. So if I'm going to print it, let's see how it prints. All right. So let's run this program. 0 1 tab enter. So before swap it was 10 to 20, and then after swap 20 to 10. Very basic logic, guys. Just take a pause over here, pause the video, and then understand and move forward. All right, now let us consider a scenario in which this number is 20 and this is 10. Now what will happen? Once this run, this will go over here. So is num1 less than num2? No, 20 is not less than 20. It will go to else. It will print before swap. It will print num1 what? 20, and then num2 equal to 10. And if come down, same logic, is just the numbers have been reversed. In case of number 1, num2, it is now num1, and in case of number 1, it's now num2. Same logic, and you can observe. So you can take a pause over here, calculate how it is happening, and it will show you the results. So if I run it over here again, let's see what happens. And you can see before swap was 2010, and then after swap it's 1020. Same thing, it's just a bit difference in the logic. So that's how you work it upon, guys. All right, and this is a very basic program that you can do inside any interview, DevOps or Dev, doesn't matter. All right, now a trick question can be that he interviewer asks you that I don't want to give it like this, I don't want to declare it like this, I want you to read it from the input. So for that you have different functions, and then that's what I'm going to explain you in the next program. So let me just reverse it back. Okay, and let me just save it. Perfect. Let's go to average of numbers. Now average of numbers, as I already explained, what I'm going to do over here is, let me just put this side. Okay, I think you can see it better now. I'm collecting numbers and then making a list. So this function collect numbers makes a list. I'll explain it what is happening, and this is calculating the average part. All right, so these are the two functions I have written separately. It's totally depending on you, that whether you want to write it at the top, you want to write it at the down, doesn't matter. I like it writing at the top. All right, so I have declared an empty list, my list, and then there is nothing inside that. All right, I'm taking total numbers is taking an input. That's what I was talking about, taking an input from the user. Let me just clear this first. Taking an input from the user, how many numbers, average of how many numbers that you want. All right, and then I'm taking an input using an input function, and then I'm converting it to int. All right, so this is important, you have to cast it to int because the number should be in integer. All right, as soon as I take the number, I call the collect number function, and then once it is called, it will pass the parameter over here, and then call comes over here. So 10 will come. If I give 10, 10 will come over here. All right, it will just print please enter 10 numbers. All right, how do you collate it? Using these signs, this comma function, not function, commas, and then that's like this. So this is string and this is an integer. All right, run a for loop, already run. Also one more thing, if you are not aware that these are the very basic things that I'm doing over here, and you're not aware of the function, you can always go to my channel, and then you can always go through the let me just show you. So if you go to the playlist, so this is the playlist that I have, and then in this I already have created Python for beginners, and I have discussed everything over here. So if you click on Python for beginners, I think this is running an ad over here. On to my right, you can see there are Python for beginners, Python for roadmap, and everything I have discussed over here: variables, types of function, oops, concept, string, operators, boolean, list. So this is, you can go through and understand how these things are working, and you can always come back. All right. So make sure that you go through this so that it is very much understandable for you. All right. So this is done. Now once it enters over here, it runs a for loop I in range from 0. It will start from 0 till total numbers whatever it has come, and then I'm putting an element over here, float, because a number can be a float value as well, because if you want to calculate the average, the answer can come in float values, so it's better to take float. All right, so I'm going to take an input, and then I'm typecasting into float, and then it going into le, or kind of element. I'm appending this element, every element that I gave an input, I append it to my list. All right. Now, as you can see on line number 17, that it was an empty list, and by running after every loop, what it's going to do, it is going to put the element in the list. All right. Once done, this is completed. For, I think if you run it 10 times, it will run 10 times. All right. This is done. The control comes back to this. Now it goes to average, and then it calls calculate average. Now see what I'm doing over here is I'm making a call to calculate average. I'm not passing any sort of parameter over here. Okay, this is just a plain call. It goes def calculate average, and it is a good thing that you write the comments, because someone who comes new in your company, new in your organization, understands this. All right, so this is something. And then what you can do is total is 0. That's what I'm taking, because I'm going to make a call on total. That's what I'm going to do. Or you can write sum, whatever is easier for you to understand. And then again a for loop for in range to from 0 to length my list. So len is another function for my list. So whatever my list I have created, it will make a call, and it is going to calculate the value over here. All right, then total equal to total plus my list I. So I is iterator over here, and if it is 0, then my list 0, whatever the value over there will be added to total. So I have to give 0, because I don't want to give any garbage value. So 0 plus whatever the value is over there. All right, and this thing is going to run for the number of times the string, the length of my list. If there are 5 elements, then 5 times 10 element, 10 times 50, 100, exactly the same number of times. So once this would be completed, my total would be having the sum of every element in my list. Just take a pause over here, understand what is happening over in these two lines. These two lines are the magic over here, which is going to take the total. And after that, all I have to do is return total divided by total numbers. So whatever total numbers was there, I just have to return it. So total numbers is already, it has a value, and then it is going to divide it by that, return the value, and then what is going to do, it is going to print over it. So let's try to do it. All right, so let me clear this again, and then I'm going to run this program. Average of how many numbers? So I'll take very basic scenario, 1 1. Okay, this is very basic scenario, it doesn't make any sense. Now let us take 3 numbers. All right, 3 numbers, all of them 1. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 equal to 3 divided by 3 should be 1. So you can see that the average is 1. All right, now let me take a typical scenario, so you can calculate it later. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take example of this. All right, so these are the numbers that I'm going to use: 10 to 38, 23, 38, 23, 21. All right, and then I'll see whether my sum comes, average comes equal to this or not. All right, so let me just take it back. So how many numbers it will ask me? Let me just run it again. So how many numbers? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So I'll take 7 numbers, and then 7 numbers I'm going to give: 10, 2, 38, 23, 38, 23, and 21. So these are the numbers, and you can see the answer is 22.14285 and all. And if you match it, you can see, let me just put it this way, you can see the number is exactly equal. So 22.142857, it has given the result that has been given by Visual Studio Code is it's kind of more towards the decimal values. That does not matter. All right. So I think this answer is correct. So I hope you guys have understood this part, swapping the two numbers, because it's one of the very easiest question that has been asked in an interview. And even when I take interview, I ask these questions a lot. And then average of numbers between any number of average. So you can take up to 5, you can take up to 10, this and that. So this is a very basic program to understand. It can look quite intimidating because it seems to be like big program. I have not created line by line. I have used function. This is good practice to do because it's make program easier to understand. Because if you write line by line, it becomes cumbersome to make changes, and if I want to do some changes in collect numbers, I will already always have to come here and I have to do it over here and should not touch any part of the program. But if you'll create line by line in kind of a, I'm not sure what's the word, but that's, if you create, it will create in chaos for you for to edit. All right, so I hope you guys have understood this part, and if there is an issue, feel free to comment below and we will address that. So thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next one.